In this interview, I sit down with Rory Golod, president of growth at Compass. This is long awaited, this conversation, challenging Rory on the most polarizing companies in the industry, on their strategy, power, and what's actually at stake for agents in today's market. We didn't dance around it. Rory did great answering the hard questions. We hit everything: the lawsuits, the private exclusives, the Compass listing book, the Zillow bans, and the fight for agent optionality. Whether you agree with Compass moves or not, Rory gave straight answers and didn't duck a single punch. In this conversation, we break down what the Compass three-phase marketing strategy really is. We actually role play it and how it's being weaponized against them, why so many agents are losing control of their own inventory, how Rory and Compass are thinking about growth, disruption, transparency in a broken system, what Robert Reffkin is doing differently from every other brokerage CEO in the country. If you're an agent who's looking for the answers to this entire Compass versus Zillow debate, everything that's going on in the industry, this interview is for you. Enjoy. I thought the listing book was a troll.
Concept of the book was very simple.
I love it. I'm like, this guy's like the Elon Musk of the industry right now.
Wait a second. I'm paying these organizations. I'm paying the dues. I'm paying the fines. By the way, they change every year. They go up. And what am I getting for it?
So why should everybody else adopt Compass's rules as opposed to Compass playing with the rules that exist?
Imagine YouTube went to all the content creators in the world that give them content and said, you have to give us your content. We're not going to pay you when we monetize it. So when you get 100 million views on your video, you're not getting a check from us. Oh, and by the way, if you don't give us your content, we'll ban you.
I don't think being a hypocrite is illegal.
And it's sort of dawned on me. It's like, choice is the thing. It's like, no seller is saying, hey, I want less choices.
Would you rather the model be you pay Redfin, Homes, Zillow, Realtor.com direct to advertise on their portal? So a lot of people know where I stand on everything going on with Compass, but I want to make, you and I are just meeting. We hung out for a couple minutes before this, but yeah. I want to make a couple things clear to you. I think Robert Reffkin's brilliant. He's a disruptor. He's obviously disrupted the real estate space, residential space. Three-phase marketing is brilliant. Like small, medium, large, let's anchor them into medium or anchor them into whatever product we're trying to do. It works. Like it's simple. People can consume things in threes. It's really catchy. I think that's brilliant. So I've got no problem with any business model. Yeah. And I've made that clear, but sometimes you need to say it again.
Yeah.
Just like you're going and having these conversations.
Totally.
And saying certain things that you believe in to make them clear. Now, I think we probably have a lot of differences, and that's why you're having these conversations
for sure
on what strategy is best and all of that, right?
Totally.
So we'll get into that, but I wanted to make that clear. Appreciate your time.
For sure. Thank you for having me on, by the way.
Yeah,
this is great.
Thanks for coming to Connecticut.
Yeah, no,
it was great.
It was actually nice to drive up here and gave me like a chance to actually get out of the city for a bit. And so the space out here is amazing.
You guys have a Compass office, right? On the
we
Guilford
do.
Green.
Yeah,
we're not. By.
That's in the plan. That's in the cards today. So yeah,
Guilford Green's beautiful. Okay, so all that aside, I think you guys are brilliant. Love Lacey over at the team. Wish I could get a chance to talk to Robert.
Yeah,
I do have. I mean, I shared this with you. Like, I do have some thoughts around. I love that you're out here. But I think the CEO should be having these conversations. You don't have to react to this. I'm just going to say it. People have heard me say it anyways. But he's very loud on IG. I love it. I'm like, this guy's like the Elon Musk of the industry right now. I thought the listing book was a troll, but I'll let you say whether it wasn't a troll.
It wasn't a troll. It wasn't a troll.
So it's a real thing.
It's a real thing. It was a real thing that was confined by the rules. So in many ways, I think it actually is a great example of how ridiculous some of these rules are. The concept of the book was very simple. People were accusing Compass of just trying to hoard inventory, of not being transparent, of just trying to double end deals and just keeping all these listings for ourselves, which is not the case. It's not ever been the intention of the strategy. And so we're looking at the rules, and the rules say, clear cooperation says you can't share inventory that's not in the MLS sort of in a one-to-many fashion. If we could, we would share all the private exclusives we have with other brokerages. And we put out something last week where Robert said, I will share our private exclusives with any company that agrees not to alter the listings, monetize the listings. And so we would love to do that. In Chicago right now, MRED, the MLS in Chicago, they have a private exclusive network where all the brokerages put their private exclusives into the MLS and they're shared among all firms. If the MRED system was national, we'd be very happy. We would love that. The rules, though, don't allow that. So when we looked at the rules say you can share a private exclusive with an agent at another firm 1-to-1. And it only allowed for, in that case, for someone to come into our office and see it. And how are they going to see it if they come into our office? They can look at a book of them. So the purpose of the book was to say to the brokerage community, we want to be the most transparent. If you want to see our private exclusives, if you want to see our off-market inventory, we're so committed to showing people that we're not trying to hoard these for ourselves, that of the 500 Compass offices around the country, anyone can go into those offices, ask to see those listings and see them. If we could and didn't have to do a book and could just share them digitally via software, which is sort of our thing, we would do that. But it shows you how ridiculous some of these rules are.
It's kind of Compass's way of saying, we think this is so ridiculous. We're going to take it to this extreme level of having it's kind of like a major troll move, because it's very much going back to the 80s of coming into nobody's going to really
we definitely had
do
people
that at scale. It's very hard to scale.
We had some people who were like, I thought you were supposed to be a tech focused company, but you have this book. But again,
of course, that's the easy place to go.
Yeah. Well, it's funny actually in some markets, and I hear anecdotes every day of people going into our offices and seeing them. In some markets where our offices are right in the middle of major metropolitan areas, it's actually quite easy to walk in. In some cases, not so much. But again, the book does highlight the ridiculousness of those rules.
And I'm going to ask you about the last week's news. I'm going to share I'll ask you about that. I want to circle back to that. I just to kind of go back to my point about your CEO, Robert Reffkin. He's obviously a pioneer. I call him the Elon Musk because of how on static posts on IG, how much he's willing to lean in.
Yeah.
He'll go on CNBC for 3 minutes, and he's got his reasons why he doesn't want to do these formats, and it's probably legal, and that's that's going to be probably with the legal team. But people do want to hear from him because he is the visionary.
Yep.
He's the disruptor. And so I hope we get to a place where we can just sit down with Robert. And it's not, like a 10-minute fireside on a stage where you can't, that's been one of my criticisms of NAR. I think Nakia Wright's doing better on those. She's starting to get more information. In the beginning, she wasn't giving much. There were very basic answers. And so long form discussions like this is how we get somewhere.
Yeah.
So I'm really appreciative of your time. All right.
Of course.
So I guess we'll start with last week's, the Compass private listings to all, but with the 2 rules.
Yeah.
And so why should everybody else adopt Compass's rules as opposed to Compass playing with the rules that exist?
Those 2 conditions aren't so much rules that are ones that we created. It's more so based on the premise of, if we're going to share inventory, the ask is that inventory is shared for the betterment of the seller and the agent, right? Which is to share the inventory, not to give it to someone to monetize it. And then the person who shared it, being the agent, doesn't get anything for it. Not to take that inventory and alter it to try to use it as a lead gen source or something like that. And so there's a ton of examples around the country where people are sharing exclusive listings. I mean, all private listing networks, right? PLN, the MRED example, Austin, Texas. So there's examples of where that works right now throughout the country. The Zillow ban is trying to shut those down. We're just saying, why not adopt what works in a number of major American cities? And the conditions they have is you share that inventory and it's not altered and it's not monetized.
Okay, so if it's not monetized, it doesn't end up on Zillow, it doesn't end up on Realtor.com. What's the point?
The point is just to get more exposure for the private exclusive inventory among the brokerage community, which if you really think about what is an MLS, let's go back in time. An MLS originally was a mechanism to share listings among agents that weren't seen in any other place. And somewhere along the way,
Share all listings.
Share all listings and listings that weren't yet on the market.
Yep.
And somewhere along the way, the MLSs and NAR lost their way. And now the MLS looks nothing like the original intention of it. Now it is a monopoly, a monetization strategy. They take inventory from content creators, effectively agents. They use that inventory to sell off to third parties. They monetize it. The content creator, the agent, and really effectively the homeowner never see anything from it. And now, as we've seen the last couple of years, now rules and structures and fines and bans, and all these things are being put in place. And they're going to the people who are the content creators, the agents, and saying, give us all your info. Oh, and by the way, we're going to put all these draconian rules in place, which don't actually help you. And so our contention is more so, why can't brokerages share private, exclusive, and off-market listings with each other before they go to the market? Why does it have to go to entities that monetize them or alter them to build a lead business off of or something? That's really what we took issue with. And we've had a number of major firms reach out with real interest. There's names that everyone would know, and people who are really curious and excited about this opportunity because I think they see the same problem. And at the end of the day, I think it shows everyone we're not trying to just withhold inventory. If we were, then we wouldn't be doing that. We wouldn't be doing the book. We wouldn't have a black box on our website that says how many private exclusives we have in a given market. In every one of these instances, we're actually trying to be more transparent. Before Clear Cooperation, all of those private exclusives were on compass.com as coming soons. Clear Cooperation is actually the thing that took all those listings, effectively drove them underground and made it so that they couldn't be more transparent. So I think it's less about us saying, here are our rules. I think it's actually, we're more saying, here are rules that exist in a bunch of these different structures now, certain MLSs, certain private listing networks. Why not just adopt those?
You made the example about the content creator. Like, this is going to go on the BAM YouTube channel, but I don't have to. I mean, I could ask people to come into Bobby's office and watch the video, or I could email it out. Like, it's my choice. I can turn monetization on YouTube, or I can turn it off. But if I turn it on, I'm just going to get whatever they give me for monetization. So doesn't it come down to what's my model? And then I got to live within that framework. Like, I can buy a Ferrari, which I never would, but I could, and like it could go 211 miles or something like that. But I can't actually ever drive it anywhere 211 miles because I'd be breaking all the rules. So I've got to make the decision. Do I want to break the rules and deal with the consequence? Do I want to put my content on YouTube and give YouTube that content because that's where people watch videos. That's where people consume podcasts today. Or do I want to try to, there's other versions of YouTube, but I can't remember their names. I think one of them's the green logo. I can't remember the name. Right?
Yeah. I don't even know the green logo.
Right.
Well, but imagine so
I've got to make that decision.
Yeah.
So why would YouTube have to change for me? They wouldn't.
Well, but here's the difference. So one, in that example, imagine YouTube went to all the content creators in the world that give them content and said, you have to give us your content. We're not going to pay you when we monetize it. So when you get 100 million views on your video, you're not getting a check from us. Oh, and by the way, if you don't give us your content, we'll ban you. So you can never be on here.
But nobody's saying you have to give your listings up. Nobody's saying that.
Well, but here's the difference. One, you have to follow NAR's rules and the MLS rules in this case, because you can't do your job
unless you leave NAR.
Well, it's interesting. It's not so much Compass as a member of NAR. It's really the agents. But as an agent,
I'm with you. You need the MLS.
No agent can work without the MLS. And when 80% of the MLSs in this country are owned by NAR, we all know that they can't operate without it.
There are agents and independents that have given up the MLS, and they've, they say they've done it. I would agree. It's like if I were to go downstairs right now and say to my agent, hey guys, I got a new idea, novel. We're going to get rid of the MLS and we're going to figure it out on our own.
You'd
They'd
have
be like,
a revolt. Yeah.
I'm going to follow Rory down to his office down the street.
Exactly. Which shows you that you don't actually have a choice. And then in the case of Zillow, when you have 66% market share of consumer web traffic in the country, the federal government deems that to be a monopoly. And then when you add Zillow plus Redfin plus other portals, you're talking about 70 plus. So yes, technically, is there a choice? Sure, but there's not a choice luckily for us, antitrust law in this country says if you're a monopoly, you can't put policies in place that stifle the ability for people to have choice and selection and also competition. So technically, could you choose to not use the MLS? Sure, but then as we've discussed, you can't do your job. And if you have no other means of actually putting listings online, then you're effectively stuck without actually choice. And there's a lot of industries where you have dominant players, but there is choice, right? If you don't want to use Uber, you can use Lyft. If you don't want to use Expedia, you can use Priceline. I mean, you have choice. We don't have choice at the MLS level in our business. And ultimately, I think if you take a big step back, why is it that this industry that's powered by agents are the center of the entire industry? They power the whole industry. They're the ones who actually create, in this case, the content. They drive the transaction forward. Why is it that there are rules in place that aren't being crafted to their benefit and to ultimately the client's benefit? No agent voted for the Zillow ban. No agent voted for a ban that said, hey, you can't market in different ways. You can't have choice. And so that's the other thing that is, I think as an agent, I'd be really upset to be like, wait a second, I'm paying these organizations, I'm paying the dues, I'm paying the fines. By the way, they change every year, they go up. And what am I getting for it? I've gotten lawsuits. I've gotten rules that tell me I have to market the same as everyone else. I can't have any selectivity, can't have any choice. It gets to a point where you start scratching your head and you're like, why is this?
Well, an agent would not have any say in what Zillow does. I mean, this is...
No, but they're the ones they built Zillow. Agents built Zillow. They're the ones who, and all the inventory, right?
I think Rich Barton would disagree that the agents built Zillow, right? So Rich knows they built Zillow years ago, and they did it originally without the listings. They just pulled public data and originally built it with the Zestimate.
Yep.
Now, agents and brokerages made the choice to give their listings to Zillow because it was the best and is best for the consumer to have their listing on this media platform. Okay. Now, to say that Zillow is a monopoly, is it a monopoly? We're not attorneys. We're not antitrust attorneys. But is it a monopoly, or is it just the biggest brand? Meaning, if Andy Florence was here, hey, Andy, is homes.com and your billion you just spent irrelevant? Is realtor.com a non-factor? They've got market share. Is Redfin and Rocket now, are they going away? Are they relevant? And I would ask you, is compass.com an irrelevant portal?
Well, compass.com is relevant to the people who use it. But when you have 200 and whatever the number is, 40 million visitors a month, you have 66% of that market share. By definition, you're the biggest brand. If you're that big, you are the biggest brand.
The biggest brand.
But you're also, in that case, by, not my standards, by what the federal government says, you're a monopoly.
Well, there's tens of thousands of competing sites. There's tens of thousands of IDX sites.
Yep.
I have an IDX site.
Yep.
I don't do it as well as Zillow.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. And so if there's tens of thousands of sites competing, a monopoly, you think like, man, nobody can compete. There's
a difference between monopolies.
There's only a couple different versions of these things.
For sure. But there's a difference between a monopoly and then a fragmented industry. So what we have is a highly fragmented industry. We have it on the brokerage side. We have it on the online portal side. But you can still have monopolies in those industries. There's a lot of examples of industries where you have one massively dominant player and then a real long tail of a ton of other players. In this case, the government has said, if you're a monopoly, it's not so much that you are a monopoly. It's what do you do when you are a monopoly? And the government says you can, as a monopoly, impose rules and structures that stifle competition and are anti-competitive. And then 2, you can't collude with other entities and then further your financial and economic gains at the detriment of others. And so in this case, in our business, that's what we're seeing play out here. There's also a high level of hypocrisy around it. Andy actually came out recently and shared these thoughts. I think they were very salient. if you're a consumer, Zillow is saying, if you don't put your listing on our website, we're going to ban you. Right? If it goes anywhere on the internet, but it's not on Zillow, then we are going to ban you from ever putting it on there. But they can have inventory that's only on their website that's not on other websites. They can have listings that don't get shared out. They
might be a hypocrite, but it's their business. So I don't think being a hypocrite is illegal. I guess is my point.
Being a hypocrite's not illegal, but when you're colluding with other entities and when you're using monopolists to control, that luckily for all of us in this country is illegal.
Here are some of the things in the lawsuit from the declaration that was presented. If Zillow is allowed to enforce its Zillow LAS, listing access standard, it will cause irreparable damage to Compass and home seller and home buyers, stifling innovation, restricting choice. With respect to Compass specifically, Compass has spent years building a reputation as an innovator, has invested millions of dollars to develop and launch the three-phase marketing strategy, which I love the three-phase title. I like that title. I envision and believe that the three-phase marketing strategy is essential to the future of Compass and its growth. And then I could go on there. These reasons because the three-phase marketing strategy is important to Compass doesn't mean it has to be important to Zillow or anybody else in the industry.
Well,
and I have no problem if it's a legal business plan and you want to run it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
But why should everybody care?
It's a great question. Because actually, I think when you read that, you can replace Compass and Compass agents with the industry and every agent. Because effectively what we're fighting for is not just the benefit of Compass. If you're an agent at any company, any agent is going to want choice for their clients. Any agent's going to want flexibility. Any agent can do a version of the three-phase marketing strategy and probably should be doing some version of it. Right? So given that, what this
phase one could be generate 4 offers with Zoodealio. So you have a floor of price. You want to test price, get 4 instant offers from investors. And get this in BMX.
This is actually a good idea. Keep going with this.
4 instant offers coming soon, and then public launch.
So
just replace step 1 with
by the way,
getting 4 offers.
What you just put together is what great agents do is they use their creativity to figure that out. So any agent or any firm is going to want that choice because as an agent, my job is to go to a seller with more choice, not less. What Zillow is pushing for is
we're in alignment,
right? So what Zillow, the Zillow ban is doing is it's causing irreparable harm because it's saying to agents, you all have to be the same. You can't do that. Every one of your listings has to go on our site, immediately. And you basically are then selling just a commoditized product with a commoditized service. And that's an existential threat to every agent because you can kind of see where this goes. If all of a sudden we as agents can't have our own creativity and our own uniqueness in how we approach sellers, then what are we actually pitching? And then who's in control of our process? It's not us. When we sit down with sellers, we effectively are telling them, you're signing an agreement with me, but there's this random tech company in Seattle that's actually really governing how we're going to do this. And the seller never interviewed Zillow. They never hired them. They never brought them into the transaction. So it actually represents a threat to all brokerages and all agents. What Compass is really looking for is we just want agents and the homeowner to have the choice. And there are going to be different agents who do it differently. There are going to be companies that compete on it. There are other companies that have private listing networks. Tom Ferry is actually has a whole coaching program on the 4-phase strategy. So he has a 4th step. We've toyed with actually adding a couple more steps because
3s are usually better than 4.
They're simpler, yeah. But I mean, the whole concept is that choice and optionality is the thing that helps you.
Totally agree.
And I was at a sales meeting and there was a mortgage broker there, and he was talking to agents. And what he was sharing with the agents is the reason they should work with him is because he has the most products. It's like, we have a 15-year, a 30-year fixed, 10-year IO, 7-year IO. We have this product, that product, investor product. And it sort of dawned on me. It's like choice is the thing. It's like no seller is saying, hey, I want less choices, right? The whole concept, think about a listing presentation. The word listing presentation is go in and present all the different things you can do. And so what we're seeing now is that is being constricted and stifled. And that's where the risk exists. And I understand why these entities, NAR, MLS, Zillow, have made billions of dollars and have had they've had the best business in the world. They get free content, free labor, and everyone has to use them.
Well, everyone doesn't have. I do have an issue with the framing on this. Everyone does not have to use Zillow. The reason everybody wants and desires to make sure that their listing ends up on Zillow is because they've built the best brand. I desire for this podcast to be on YouTube. Now, in order for us to be compliant on YouTube, there's a whole bunch of stuff you and I can't say. There are guidelines around,
the difference is
it's freedom of speech, but it's YouTube freedom of speech.
Yeah, the difference is YouTube pays you. It'd be a different world if Zillow said, hey, let's pretend for a moment you have an amazing listing, right? Photograph it comes out fantastic. Maybe let's even amp it up. Let's say it's actually like a well-known home, the home of a celebrity, something important. It gets a lot of impressions, a couple 100,000 impressions. It goes on their site. They get those impressions. They use those hundreds of thousands of impressions to drive web traffic and make money. You never see anything from that. So we'd be having probably a different conversation if Zillow was cutting checks to agents every month saying, thank you for the content. We're actually going to pay you for the content. And really, it's not even Zillow in this case. It's really the MLSs who have taken the content. They get it. They monetize it. And then they're giving it to Zillow.
But they reverse engineered. And that's where I said in the beginning, the agents didn't build Zillow. Zillow built Zillow by being better at tech than any broker in our space.
That is correct. That is correct.
So they built this platform. Consumers are like, what's this Zestimate? They got traffic. Agents and brokers saw the traffic going over there and said, oh, let us get over there and put our listings on Zillow. So
what you highlight also is a really good point. I shared this a little while ago, and a business leader that I'm close with is really sound on this, and someone who understands the industry but is not directly in it. And what she said is, I think the reason why this industry's gotten to this point is because brokerages did not have the technical capability for so long to build anything. Yeah. And so they just kind of gave up. Zillow provided this, sort of option for them. But now, because I was asking, why do you think so many brokerages haven't come out and said, hey, wait a second. Yeah, we believe in seller choice and all these things. And what she said is, I think because a lot of those brokerages still don't have the technical capability. So they're worried about a world where they have to compete. And if everyone starts building private listing networks and doing this, you need to have the technical chops to do that. I think a lot of traditional brokerages are terrified of that. And so the status quo, as bad as it is, seems like a better option. But if the ship is slowly sinking, jumping in the water and getting to dry land while it's scary is probably the better option.
Well, what do you know about the UK market and the Australia market? Give me in your analysis, because that's where that goes if everybody's building private market. Just give me in your analysis, how does the UK and the Australia market better serve clients?
It's less about Australia, UK. I think it's more so, one, Compass has never said success is everyone builds a private listing network. That's not what we've advocated. Well, what we've said is that we just want the ability.
But that's where it goes, right?
Maybe, maybe not. Again, if
it's so successful, that's where it's a copycat business.
I think, as I've said, I think we could, in this country, every MLS could build their own private listing exchange network where every brokerage could share the listings, and that wouldn't even be an issue. So, and that's something that we would be very supportive of.
It's like instead of the pre-party, it's the pre-MLS. It's like one MLS and then you go to the other MLS.
But you think about it, right? Like MRED is a major MLS that serves Chicago. It's the second or third biggest city in the United States, right? So it works there. It's worked for a long time. Why couldn't that work throughout the country? And I think we've never said, oh, the European models, whether it's UK, whether it's Australia, are better. Let's do that. One model that I think is probably more aligned with what I think the industry should look like is more so in Canada, where the MLSs function as a utility to share information with brokers. And there are rules in place to protect the client's choice and the agent. And the portals are not allowed to sort of overreach in that way. And that's what I think it looks more like, because I sit here and I talk a lot about competition. I'm always saying we should be competing on the merits of either the services that we provide. Agents have to compete every day to win business. So if I'm going to say I'm about competition, then I need to be about competition with every company. So I'm not against competing against firms, whether it's Zillow, other brokerages. But when you're in a position where these entities have set up structures in place that stifle competition and make it that you can't compete, that changes the landscape.
Well, let me ask you this way. Would you rather a world where you could pay Zillow, Redfin, you don't want to give it to them for free and have them monetize it? Would you rather the model be you pay Redfin, Homes, Zillow, Realtor.com direct to advertise on their portal? Would you rather that be
Meaning
business-
like basically Holmes' model you're saying, where the listing, if you want to promote your listing, you have to pay to promote
Just going
it.
back to UK, I mean, this is, you want to list your home, there's a couple of portals and you pay for placement, and the brokers pay, I don't know if you've looked at this, but they're paying big money
Yeah.
to place their listings on the portal because that's the only option that they've got. It's a really
Yeah. I think actually a better example of what a good model would be is in the United States pre-2020, pre-CCP, pre all this stuff, right? From let's say 2010 to 2020.
Wild West days.
Yeah, well, was it the Wild West? I mean, this wasn't an issue in 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017. CCP sort of kicked it off, right? That was a rule that was put in place to slow down Compass and sort of the rise of coming soons and inventory that was on compass.com where the world could see it, but it wasn't in the MLS. That's really what kicked this all off. None of this was an issue then. Firms were competing, new companies were being started. It was so, if we just went back to that, we'd be in a world where that would be fine. And you would actually allow for innovation and competition.
If you're a buyer in the world that, if everybody goes private exclusives, if you're a buyer looking for your first home, your second home, whatever home, what do you do?
Well, I think I'll challenge
So
you.
there's 7 private listing networks, exclusive, private exclusive brokerages. What do you do?
So first thing I'll say, I don't see a world where everyone goes private exclusive as sort of the status quo for the listing for the entirety. And that's probably the biggest clarification point. We've been saying this stat till we're blue in the face, right? 94% of our private exclusives hit the market. So I don't see a world where the industry, I think there are some people out there that are fear-mongering for the purpose of either generating attention or because they just don't understand the actual issue of, oh my God, every listing is going to be off market. That's not the case. So let's assume that a small percentage of the listings, like they do now, like they have for decades, stay private exclusive. What it means is that a consumer is probably going to be working with an agent because the agent in that world would have access to it. And we're out there saying we want every agent to have access to that off-market inventory. So really what it means is that a buyer's working with an agent.
And their agent, if there's the like Chicago version.
Yeah, if there's that. And again, that's what we're advocating for. It's funny. This is sort of what we first started talking about. At every turn, we're actually trying to be more transparent with the information, but we keep getting forced to not be. I don't know another brokerage that puts on their website how many private exclusives they have, right? I don't know another brokerage that's attempting to do something like we're doing with the book. I don't know another brokerage that's going out there and saying, hey, I want to share all my off-market inventory with other firms. Now, brokerages are starting to say it, and some really well-known companies as well. But in that world, I think people are working with an agent, which right now is no really different than how the industry works now, because I don't know the exact stat, but I think it's 92, 93% of people work with an agent, right? Which that's great for those buyers because they're getting representation. That's great for agents. So, if you don't want to see that world, and there's definitely a company that doesn't want a world where everyone's working with an agent, and then you can kind of see where it goes.
You've sat in a lot of living rooms on listing pitches.
Yes.
We're kind of, it's almost living room style here.
Yeah, this is nice too.
So I've got a listing. Walk me through the 3-phase strategy.
All right. So very simple. 3 phases. First phase, private exclusive. What we're going to do is every phase has a specific purpose and an outcome we're trying to drive, and then gears to the next step. The purpose of private exclusive allows us to test price. Maybe I think that your home is worth $2.5 million. You think it's worth $2.9 million. Well, the best way to figure that out without accruing days on market and public price drops is I can test that. 2, positioning. Are we photographed right? Are we positioned right? feedback, all of these different things. Maybe you're not actually even ready to sell. Maybe actually we're in your living room right now. You want to sell fast, but we still need to declutter, clean the home, and shoot it. That's going to take a week, but I can get it in private exclusive right now to start to build the interest, build the anticipation. So call that phase one. That means that when we get to phase two, coming soon status, it's on compass.com. So now the world can see it if they search on compass.com. We're still not showing days on market. We're still not showing public price changes. And we're showing the true listing agent. We're broadening the reach a little bit. Maybe I have some more inquiries, some more interest. Now, when we go to phase three to the MLS, we know that we're priced right. Pricing is going to be the most important thing we do. We can't just take a guess here. We know we're positioned properly. I've gotten broker feedback, so we're on the same page in terms of what we should expect. And maybe we already have some inquiries for showings. Our first open house, maybe it's going to have some more traffic. And now we go to the MLS, set up the right way. And we have infinite number of choices and ways we can do that and be flexible to what you need for your home.
Well, if I just want to know the test, can I just do that for a week? Like, why do I have to sign with? Can I just test for a week in the test phase?
You absolutely. Now, the beauty of having a multi-phase strategy is you can test without putting it on the market and start accruing those days on market and start accruing if we do have to change price, if we do something different. We don't want to look like damaged goods. And I actually had a listing presentation on July 4th. It was sort of a last minute one with a client who had an incredible estate in Long Island. And it had been on the market for a year with another firm. And they were trying to really figure out what to do. And we went through the three-phase strategy, and it became very clear to them.
Why would you go through? You've had a year of testing the market. What the heck's the point of the first phase?
Well, because actually, in that case, we need to reposition it. We need to, even though it was on the market for a year, as you know, some sellers can still be a little intransigent when it comes to price, right?
Yeah.
So we had to figure out, well, first, we're going to take it off the market anyway. But while we're in that phase, I actually want to be able to get it out to brokers. I want to get it out to brokers that aren't in this market because this home happened to be $9 million. So the price point was such that the buyer could kind of come from anywhere. Then when we bring it back to market, I want to make sure we've actually built up some interest and anticipation because it's even more important now because the home is a little stale. Ultimately, that strategy, there's no seller that is going to say, I want less options. Some sellers say, that's great. Put my home right on the MLS. I don't care. That's fine. Some sellers are like, great, let's do it for private exclusive for a month. Let's do it for a day. The flexibility is the best part. And when people come out and say, that is bad, that's wrong, that shouldn't be allowed, they're basically saying that agents shouldn't be able to be creative and market. They're telling the seller, you shouldn't have any choice. I just don't know how that would make any sense if we're in a business of trying to create choice for clients.
I understand the choice, and I think clients, because when you put something three-phase marketing strategy and you walk me through it, I think most clients are like, well, you're the expert, Rory. I mean, let's just go with what you think is right, sign here, and let's go. I think where we get maybe now into the weeds of this thing a little bit is like, well, is that first phase, you saw the LinkedIn post from the San Francisco seller was like, oh my gosh, I would have lost $100,000 on my first offer, which we were floored with. And then the buyer backs out and we go to market, we get $100,000 more. We almost lost she obviously had that experience.
What's funny though, in that article, what the last line in the article was? She said if she had to, she would do it again.
But yeah, but she didn't know it. But the thing is, if she had to, she'd make the decision the same way.
But here's the beauty of that. And this is such a sort of simple
meaning
point.
Most sellers, you walk in, good looking guy, you know your stuff, you've been enough, you know how to sell. And it's like, I don't know, he's president of a company, he's got, let's just sign with him, hon. Let's go.
Well, but here's the beauty of this. This is like the simplest thing that I think we forget. No one's ever forced to take an offer. At no point in the three-phase marketing strategy do you need to take an offer.
Totally understand
the
that.
Seller can choose to take the offer whenever they want. And a number of sellers will probably say, you know what? That's great. We got an offer, but I want to go to the open market. Now, there's some times where an agent might say, hey, maybe you have two offers as a private exclusive. And, there's a situation, Robert shared this at our, all company meeting in Denver, where we had an agent who was doing the three-phase marketing strategy. He was in private exclusive. The client had an offer And the agent said, we're bringing it to market. We're going to bring it to market. Unfortunately, the offer does not hit the number that the client wants. And the client said, you know what? I don't want to compete with the open market. So they raised their bid. And that was sufficient for that client. And then there are a number of clients who say, you know what? That's great. I've gotten some offers. I know we're priced right. Let's go to the open market. Let's open it up. And the beauty of that choice is what we want to preserve. And so when people come out and say, well, people are going to sell their homes for less, people will sell their homes for what they want to sell their homes for. And it's our job as agents to give them the best strategy to get the most offers, to get the highest price, sell it as fast as possible with the least amount of hassle. And so this strategy is proven to help them do that. Who's NAR, who's the MLS, who's Zillow to say, sorry, you can't do that? Why? Because, and the excuse people give is, oh, people are going to get offers and then they might accept them and then they'll lose money. It's up to them. Like I always sort of share this point. It's like, again, stepping back to the simplicity of this. If you own a home and you had to do everything it took to get that home, which today, given how expensive homes are, is a lot. Mm-hmm. Why shouldn't you be in control of how that home is sold and how it's marketed?
Yeah, but if I were to sell my home here or Naples, or if my mom asked me to, what should I do with my home? I'd say get it out to everybody in the market. Mm-hmm. Do not take an offer without going to the market.
Do not accept an offer.
Yeah. Do not accept an offer until you can, I think 99% of people, price is at the top of the list on selling their home. There's cases where it's a family deal and price isn't as important, or time's more important than price because they're up against something.
Certainly. Yeah.
But price is the ultimate desire for someone who's got all the money invested in home. And I don't think there's much of an argument for not going to the market. You got to go to the market to know what the true value
it's funny.
of a home is.
Shirag Shah, who's a top real estate coach who works, with Compass agents, actually based here in Connecticut. I was talking to him last night, and he said the way he thinks about the Compass 3-phase marketing strategy is the whole point is to maximize the equity in the home. And the way you do that is build up interest and anticipation. So when you go to market, you can get the best price.
Can't you just do it with Coming Soon? You can test price on Coming Soon, and it's to me.
Unfortunately, in about half the markets around the country, you can't do a Coming Soon for more than one day. And now with the Zillow ban, you can't do a Coming Soon because if it's on another website that's not theirs. So what you're describing is effectively what
you can do Coming Soon. You just would then the Coming Soons that we run go on, if you do it, you can do it up to 14 days. You can do it less than that. And it's on Zillow the entire time. So you're on Coming Soon MLS, you're on Coming Soon Zillow.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm going to get a true test, but
the problem with that is if you're racking up days on market, if you do a price change, then that's not really actually testing the market. It's putting the seller to disadvantage.
I think Coming Soon should have 0 DOM.
Agree.
Because you can't see the property, so you're not really on the market.
And you're displaying what you're describing, I couldn't agree with more. You're allowed to test it. And, last night I saw one of our agents, Michael Holt in New York. He was being interviewed on a podcast, and someone was asking him about, Compass 3-phase marketing strategy. And he said something that was really great. He's like, I tell all my clients, I want it. We're going on the market. I want to get it on the market. I want as many people to see it as possible. But when we get to the market, I want to make sure we do it right. And I think that's actually a great way to describe this. Compass's 3-phase marketing strategy is the 3-phase strategy for a reason. It's not the 1 phase. And there's so many voices out there that are like, you're doing this to hoard inventory. Your agents are doing this just to double end deals. If that were the case, it'd be called the Compass off market strategy. It's called the 3-phase strategy. The 3rd phase is go to the market. We just want agents and homeowners to have the choice in how they do it before they get to the market, which again, is what any agent at any company would want.
I'm not going to pin you down to these comments. You can react to them. They're in your Ricky Carruth conversation, which was a great conversation, by the way. You and Ricky, you guys did a good job.
Thank you. But
I listened to the whole thing. James Dwiggins, he pulled some of this stuff out, put it on LinkedIn. Minute 17:55, and you probably saw the post.
I didn't see the post.
So he made this post on LinkedIn.
Okay.
And he just pulled some of your quotes. I'm going to let
Okay.
you to react to them.
Okay.
So when it comes to something like Compass 3-phase marketing strategy, the reason we're passionate about it is because it's helping our agents win more listings.
Yep.
That was you.
Yep. Absolutely.
The agenda that Compass has is I want to help agents win more listings. That's the agenda. I want to help them grow their business, do more deals, and have a better quality of life.
Yep.
Love that for your agents.
Yep.
Anything along with that agenda, and we're going all in. We're going to go all in on that, basically. Anything not, we're not going to do.
Yep.
The entire point and focus of the Compass 3-phase marketing strategy is to give an agent more tools and options so they can pitch to a seller so they can win the listing.
Mm-hmm.
It boils down to, and there's more, I won't go through them all, boils down to the position of Compass is saying, we want to win in this competitive landscape.
Mm-hmm.
We're out here to win.
Mm-hmm.
Love that, right? We're competing. We're out here to win. The flip on that is cool, but I'm going to make a rule over here to compete with Compass. And that's the choice that Zillow's making or whoever, where it's like, do what you got to do. We're going to do what we got to do. And everybody can just kind of stop talking about it. Is that how, I mean, that's where I'm at, but it doesn't seem like that's going to be enough for Compass.
Well, a couple of things. I mean, one, we're not a monopoly. You know, we're the number one brokerage by sales volume in the country, and we only have 6% market share, right? So we don't have 66. And also, we're not the ones who put a ban in place. We're not the ones who put these rules in place. We didn't invent the Compass 3-phase marketing strategy. Agents did. So, you know, it's a little hypocritical, I think, from those entities when they see something that is benefiting agents, helping agents win more listings, helping sellers. You know, the clients are the ones who are choosing to do this, right?
They're choosing to do it, but a lot of clients interview 1, 2, maybe 3, and it's like, I don't know, this guy's the expert. I'll go with that. Because you guys are being very clear. We just want to win more listings. So we're creating a great marketing, 3-phase marketing strategy that helps us win. We want to win. I have no problem with that. Now this might be one manager. Leo Pereira, CEO of EXP, posted that op-ed. You may or may not have saw it.
I haven't seen his op-ed now.
It's got the email from this Compass managing broker. I'm
aware of the email. Yeah, I haven't
Congrats
seen the op-ed,
on the 2 new listings this week. Your spring marketing activities are rolling. Now this might be a rogue manager. I'm not. There's obviously some managers, but to me, when you read this, and I'll read it, your spring market activities are rolling. I did notice that both properties did not start in private exclusive status. I would like to ask you a favor. Can you help me out on your upcoming listings? I asked for a commitment to use our 3-phase marketing program to expand the options for your sellers. These steps are so important to what we want to accomplish collectively at Compass. On your next private exclusive listings, we would be glad to distribute them to the office as well. Also, I want your sellers to benefit from social media marketing that Compass provides on every listing. When I read this, and then at the end, Blank and I are both available to help you learn the easy steps to leveraging the 3-phase marketing. So, when I read this, it wasn't like, hey, talk to me about why, you guys went public market it. What was their feedback on our plan? This reads like a manager who's being comped to get more listings into 3-phase marketing.
Yeah.
Managers are often comped on recruiting, which is why they spend the majority of their time calling agents from other firms as opposed to being the broker for their agents in their office because they're following their comp.
That's why managers at Compass don't recruit for that exact reason.
This manager, it appears to me, if I'm taking a guess, is being comped on 3-phase marketing. Are managers being comped on 3-phase marketing?
I think it's worth sharing. That manager does not work at Compass anymore.
Okay.
And
that's true because that was in the op-ed.
Yeah. Oh, all right. Well, I'm happy that was in there. That person doesn't work at Compass. That email does not have my name on it, doesn't have Ned and Avav, my colleague who runs the core business with me, doesn't have Robert's name on it.
Correct.
So to your
And-
point, we have close to 300 managers around the country.
Absolutely.
People run their offices autonomously. They have to determine kind of how they message things. That is not a message that we ever put down on paper and said, hey, go say this. Because ultimately, agents are independent contractors. They're going to do what they want to do. Now, there's a big difference between encouraging agents to take advantage of things that help them grow their business, and then ultimately they have to make the choice, right? Technology is a great example. We've pushed really hard to get agents to adopt technology. It's been a worthwhile cause, because if we just built great software and just sat back, I don't know that most people have done that. And with Compass three-phase marketing, there is, for a lot of agents who might not have leveraged that kind of strategy before, there is a learning curve on how do I pitch it? How do I talk about it? You've asked a bunch of questions today. Like, should it be 5 days? Should it be 10 days? We're not forcing agents to do it. We can't. They're independent contractors. In the first quarter, we shared, we released publicly during earnings that we had about 49%. I don't have the exact number. About 49% of our listings went through the three-phase strategy. I think the number on that percentage was about 20,000. So there were 20,000 sellers who chose to do it. That means there were another 20-something thousand that didn't choose to do it. Those agents weren't penalized. Those managers weren't penalized. So,
But are there managers being incentivized to increase that 45%?
They're managers that are being incentivized to increase awareness of the program. But usage, we can't tell people they have to do something. So we're out there banging the drum and telling our managers, hey, make sure all your agents know about how to do it, know about how to talk about it, know how to sell it, know how to communicate it. Make sure they know, hey, this is an agent in the office. They use the Compass three-phase marketing strategy, and this is the outcome they had. So yes, we want them to make sure everyone does that. And we are encouraging them to do that. But we're not telling them, you have to get someone to do this thing.
This particular email, would you ever want an email like that written again?
No, because I think, to your point, that actually discredits the effectiveness of the Compass three-phase strategy. It's proven now. You don't need somebody to say, I need you to do this. The market's proven that they want it, and the number of people are going to do it are going to do it. So no, I don't think that's a good way to describe it. The way I would do it, if I were writing that email to the office, I would say, look, it's simple. The math that we've seen is that listings that go through the full three-phase marketing strategy versus those that don't, we're seeing get on average about 2.9% more in terms of list to close. They're selling faster with less days on market. And here are 3 agents in the office who have done it successfully, have anecdotes they could share. That'll tell the story. In many ways, agents will do what other agents do more so than what managers or me or Robert or anyone says. They're going to look to their colleagues and see, like, are they doing it? And when they see top agents doing it, that's the thing. So
Compass is a lot of agents, a lot of really high volume producers. I mean, some of the best, obviously, in the country. It's hard to get 20 agents to agree on one thing. And there's thousands of agents. How many?
almost 40,000.
Almost 40,000 Compass agents. I'm certain not everybody loves the headlines. I'm certain it's not 40,000 and 0. What have been some of the feedback you've gotten from agents that are like, we don't want to be in the headlines, or we don't like the three-phase marketing approach? Or are you 40,000 and 0 and everybody loves it?
So I think what we've seen is there's almost universal appreciation and for the Compass three-phase marketing strategy. But that doesn't mean it's going to get used all the time. Because as you said, some clients don't want to do it. Some situations are different. So I would say there's pretty significant followership. And again, the reason we know that to be the case is myself, Robert, our leaders, we're going to talk about it exactly as I said in that interview. We're going to go all in on the things that we know work. And if something works and it helps agents and it helps clients, we're going to go all in on it. One of the reasons we're going all in on this is because it's proven to be incredibly effective. I would say what people have said that they don't like, headlines in general, yes. There are a lot of people who just want quiet, want to be left alone just to do their business. And I don't think anyone wants to see their company portrayed negatively in headlines, right? If you had to choose, would you want no headlines or bad headlines? It's not like we're not celebrities. So it's not like all press is good press. So I think some people would probably say, yeah, I could do without some of that. And I think there are some people who are genuinely afraid, who are worried, like, what will happen if the Zillow ban continues on? What's actually going to happen? So I think it's more the people who are a little more reticent. I think they're just more afraid and more worried. I have agents call me, be like, is my MLS going to ban me because I want to be able to do multi-phase marketing? What's Zillow going to do? So I would say it's probably more so that. But in terms of the Compass three-phase strategy, we would have moved on a long time ago if sellers didn't like it and agents didn't want it. And I've given this example before, but
have you seen? Well, go. Sorry.
So we launched Compass Concierge years ago, right? And it became one of the most successful things we ever did.
It was great. Everybody copied it.
Yeah, which is the highest form of flattery. So it front loads the cost of home improvement services to clients. We'll go to them and say, hey, you need $20,000 to paint your kitchen and declutter. Totally. We'll put up the money for effectively a few $100s, and then we'll recoup off the sale.
Yep.
We also, around the same time, launched the Compass Bridge Loan Program, which were basically, we would help facilitate bridge loans.
Yep.
Compass Concierge took off. We talked about it all the time. We were actually as emphatic about it as we are about the Compass three-phase marketing strategy. Just, I don't think people in the industry were maybe paying attention as much. Mm-hmm. And we were doing everything we could to make people aware of it. We were running contests. We were highlighting agents who had done it successfully. And now, we sit here today and we've done billions of dollars of projects. Compass Bridge Loans, we folded years ago. I think we maybe did 100 of them, if that. And we've done probably 20,000 concierge projects. It was a flop. We don't talk about it anymore because it didn't work. And so, but concierge is, part of the fabric of the company.
Yeah.
And the person who determines if it works is ultimately the seller and their agent.
Well,
and
I think private exclusives work for Compass. They don't necessarily work for the rest of the industry. And that's where there's going to be friction. Have you seen the three-phase marketing strategy? Have you seen, if we're looking at a chart, have you seen the numbers fall off a cliff since the Zillow listing standard? When you present to a seller, if we do this strategy, we're not going to be on Zillow. Have you seen these numbers just dive off a cliff because ultimately sellers want to be on Zillow?
No, the numbers will ebb and flow also because of seasonality. So they've changed because you get through the spring market.
But I'm talking a sharp, dramatic, I don't want the three-phase marketing if I can't get on Zillow. It's pointless at this point.
And the reason why is because you can do it in different ways. So one, you can decide to not do the second phase, which really becomes a two-phase strategy. Mm-hmm. You can do private exclusive and then go to the market. A lot of people doing that. Or you could do the three-phase strategy with coming soon for only a day. Not as effective, nowhere near as effective, in fact, but still possible. So what you're seeing is agents are adapting to it, but it's a struggle because the three-phase strategy was built with all three phases in mind. And so, they're now trying to have to adapt, and agents are saying, wait a sec, how come we have something that works, that helps us, that helps our clients, and now we can't do this? And what law did we break? What regulation did we break? And so I think it's more frustration than it is, oh my God, it just, fell off a cliff.
If you want to be on Zillow, it changes the way the strategy is being implemented. The strategy has to change because ultimately, if we're ranking the three levels of the strategy, Zillow is, you have to use it.
Yep. Well,
you don't have to.
You don't have to.
To my point earlier, you don't have to.
But to your point, and that's why the
you're
strategy.
Nuts if you don't.
Yeah, and that's why you're absolutely right. You would categorize someone as being nuts if they don't, and that's why, one of the reasons why we're doing this, because here's this effective strategy that agents were using, that sellers were loving, and now they can't do it at the same way as they could have.
Yeah, which is just unfortunate. When I was reading some of the stuff in the lawsuit, and I know, again, we're no attorney, but the Zillow LAS threatens Compass's goodwill with its investors. Somebody very smart wrote this, way smarter than me. But when I read something like that, I'm just like, okay, boo hoo. What do you want me to do?
Well, look,
I don't know.
Luckily, as I said before,
the investors are just disappointed of the last 5 years, 66% down in the stock. The stock has done decent this year.
Yeah.
But for investors, they're like, we got a long way to go no matter what, whether, Zillow makes a rule or not.
Well, I think that's two different things. I think on investors, because we're a public company, everyone can see our investors. They can see kind of who owns the stock, who doesn't. The investors that own the stock, we have a lot of big institutions who own stock in Compass. And these are people who take 3, 5, 10-year views of companies. And, as you can see, if you read any analyst report on Compass, read all the analyst reports from the last quarter, most of our price targets are significantly higher than where we are. We have a buy rating for most of the companies that cover us. And the feedback we get from investors is they're loving what we're doing. That's why, while our stock is down from our IPO price, I would say a big reason for that is we're in a world today of 7% mortgage rates and 4 million homes sold in this country versus 5.5. But that's the reason why Compass's market cap is bigger than every publicly traded real estate brokerage combined. I think the investors, for them, it's more so, wait a sec, here's a company we invested in that's doing well, but now has uncovered this strategy that's creating tremendous outcomes. They're looking at the numbers. They're numbers-driven people. So they're like, wait a sec, 2.9% more average price to, close to list. Wow, that would make a lot of sense that people would want that. The company I invested in is now not able to do something that's that effective because another company that has monopoly level share told them no. That's the problem. And so the boo-hoo concept is sort of, luckily for us,
these words,
but luckily for
okay.
us, we're in a country where you can't allow monopolies, and monopolies are not allowed to do things like this. And we're the beneficiaries of that, because if we weren't, you would have a situation where all these other services and goods that we use would be less innovative, a lot more expensive. And that's ultimately here, the innovation is being stifled. I fully recognize that without a listing ban from Zillow, without NAR's crazy draconian rules, there will be other companies that will come out of left field, some that haven't even started yet, that will compete against us and will have an even better strategy or whatnot. We welcome that competition.
I think it'd be the monopoly argument on NAR would have been maybe an easier lawsuit to win.
It looks like that's what Mauricio is doing that right now.
Yeah. Well, I don't see a pathway to winning tens of thousands of IDX sites. I don't see a path to beat Zillow on monopoly claims. Maybe you get them on something on the collusion side. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Okay. No idea what I'm talking about there. But when I just think about a monopoly, we're basically saying homes.com, realtor.com, right? You're all irrelevant. Compass.com is irrelevant. Tens of thousands of IDX sites, which most of those are irrelevant, but there's no competition.
Here's how here's like a way to think about it. Here's how you know a monopoly has power. Earlier when you said you'd be nuts not to use
You'd be
Zillow.
nuts. You'd be nuts.
There you go.
I mean,
and replace that with any other industry, right? Like you wouldn't be nuts to stay at a Marriott over a Hilton. You wouldn't be nuts to use Lyft and not Uber. You wouldn't be nuts to work with Goldman Sachs and not JP Morgan.
You'd be nuts to not use realtor.com too. I'm using Zillow as the example.
But a lot less so. You'd be a lot less nuts.
It'd be nuts. I mean, you're talking about like 20% of the market.
Here's the bigger
one out of 5 buyers.
Here's the bigger one. If that's nuts, it'd be insane not to use the MLS. And to your point on NAR and the MLSs, that's sort of the other side of this, is that we're in an industry where you have a NAR, which is masquerading as a trade group, which is not a trade group. The American Dentists Association or the American Hotel Association, whatever these are, you don't have to join them. And if you join them and you do something they don't like, they kick you out and you keep doing your business.
This is a much more sound argument.
But it is actually the same argument. But we're in a business here where NAR has said, hey, we're the trade group. We're here. You pay us dues and we're going to protect you and we're going to lobby for you. And so we paid all these dues. And what do we get? We got a $45 million headquarter renovation. Warren Buffett has this amazing quote, which is, he said, it was from like 1980, where he said, he predicts the downfall of all these companies comes when they erect shiny new, brand new towers. He's like, when I see companies building brand new big office buildings, I know they have too much money, right? So we pay all this money in dues and all these fines. And what did we get for it? We got lawsuits. We got a $45 million renovation to a headquarters that no one needed. The amount of waste and spend that went on at NAR among trips and travel and all this.
Speaking of the choir here,
right?
I'm
And
not
then,
being a big
and then
NAR
what we
critic.
get, then we got a rule that said, we're not going to allow you to market listings the way that a seller and an agent want. And now we're going to start banning you and fining you and kicking you off and doing all this stuff. You know, again, if we were to start from scratch today and you got 1,000 agents together and said, build the system that will sort of govern our industry, not a single person would build what we have now. Nobody. And we're forced into it while they spend $86 million a year lobbying for, I don't know what.
So I think some of the lobbying might be the thing to save, and then a lot of the other stuff the media spend. But the three-way tie-in agreement, that would have been, I mean, I think
that is the ultimate. I mean, when people actually understand that, they're like, wait a sec, this is allowed in American business.
There'd be a serious, like, overwhelming support maybe throughout the industry if that was the approach. And listen, you'll get a bunch of good comments on this. Okay? Because agents are emotionally triggered by how much Zillow has kicked their ass consistently over the years. And right now, someone's going to tag that and say, Byron's a Zillow fanboy. It's just the truth. You know, you're getting outplayed on the field by Zillow. And but they're right. I think they've built a better brand. Yeah. I'd be also nuts to sell. There's people that trade watches. I don't trade watches, but there's some site, I forget what it's called. There's some site that everybody posts their watch. You go on, there's only 17 Rolex whatevers in the world being sold right now. Okay. They're all on this site. Now, I get it. There's some guys that are running around, Manhattan.
Canal Street.
Yeah. Doing a private watch deal.
Yeah.
But if you want to get the most money.
But my guess is that site doesn't ban people if they put their watch on a different website. Now, the Zillow point, the agents should be outraged. And I wouldn't describe it as Zillow kicking their butt. I would say Zillow systematically taking the money that they've earned, discounting them, displacing them, and devaluing them, right? The listing agent used to be front and center on Zillow, not anymore. There are agents who advertise on Zillow. This is their business decision, and agents don't have to list there if they totally agree.
Don't want to.
Totally agree. So this is up to them. And by the way, we have agents at Compass
that are Zillow agents. How do they feel?
Zillow agents. First off, to be very clear, I support them because my job, again, I've said this before, our reason for existing is to help agents grow their business, make more money, take care of their clients, create great outcomes. We have agents who run successful businesses who work with Zillow. And they like working with Zillow and they make money working with Zillow. I've never once told them, stop working with Zillow. I've never once said, you're an idiot for doing it.
Yeah.
But what I do point out is if I were in their shoes, and I fully support them, and I don't want anyone to be like, to demonize them. They're not bad. They're doing something that works. And by the way, that's a unique model. It's a model that not everyone can replicate. We have some incredibly successful teams in California and Seattle and Texas who really know how to channel that model. It's very unique, as you know. You can't just show up and do it. But I would be, I'd have misgivings around it for a lot of these reasons. There are some agents who advertise on Zillow, where Zillow will have the ability to, you go on as a consumer, you can contact the listing agents, so they advertise on there. But the box to request a tour, which is blue and big, and then the contact agent box is really small and white, can't really see it. Well, if you click on that blue box, that lead routes to someone else. So Zillow's effectively competing against their own agents who are paying them to market. Why is it that developers and home builders can have their homes on Zillow and not have to follow these rules, not have to follow these rules at all? Why is it that if I'm an agent, I'm selling a home and someone's a builder and just built one home on the street next door, they don't have to follow that? Right? Why? And this is an entity.
Why are there only two parties that you can vote for every 4 years?
I think to your point, I think Elon Musk is now creating a third. I saw.
Yeah,
but
it won't do well.
But there's and then you keep taking it further, and now you have Zillow is sending email blasts out to consumers. This would actually really make me concerned as an agent, is email marketing like crazy to consumers. This is what Andy pointed out, saying,
Well,
don't sell with an agent.
I have Andy's book. We can go grab it. Andy's sending his book directly to list people who are listed. Andy Florence, homes.com. You know this, right?
No, I didn't know this.
Go get it's on the podcast desk if you want to just grab it real quick.
But he pointed this out, that Zillow is sending massive email marketing to homeowners saying, you don't have to list with an agent. You can either sell your home
Homes.com is
directly
doing
to
the same
us.
thing, basically.
But if I'm an agent, I'm saying to myself, wait a sec. This company that now put this ban in place and is telling me how I can and can't do things, which I don't work for. I don't work for this company, is also, while doing that, basically telling all of my clients, you don't need an agent. You should just put it right on our site. Be a FSBO or list it with us, sell it to us, right? I mean,
Well, they're still running seller leads.
They ran 30,000. They bought 30,000 homes, doing that. So
This is being direct mailed to active listings.
I feel like this was definitely made with AI. Don't these images seem like they're AI images?
And
they look like just about real, not fully real.
And so what Holmes is basically saying in there is, hey, pay us $900 to boost your listing on Homes. Okay, basically saying, hey, your agent didn't give you this option. You can pay us direct. This is QR code. Scan it, boost your home. And that is part of where we go, where it's like, oh, if everything, you got to pay $900 here, there, everywhere. Now, you might not pay the $900 on Homes because they're number 4, right? But as they grow market share, maybe it would be advantageous to do something like that. And then really, how much are you paying into the portals, right?
Well,
But
right now, think about what you're paying.
Well, right now, here's where Zillow stands. Again, I'll get a lot of stuff in for this, but Zillow has always said we're doing it for the doing this for the consumer. Reason why traffic to listing agents is a really bad idea, the way the real estate industry is set up, and everybody wants to be a solo agent, and I want my own business, and blah 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 blah. Well, listing agents don't pick up the phone. Okay, so that has been over a long time ago. You can't get listing agents to pick up the phone. They don't have what I have downstairs, an ISA. You should pick up the phone during business hours. Every single phone call should be answered. It's not 1989 anymore.
No, there's a real way to. That's why I said there are teams at Compass who are built the infrastructure on how to do this the right way. However, just because they might not do it well or do it at all doesn't mean they shouldn't be given the choice, and doesn't mean that a company that they're not part of or an employee of should be telling them what they can and can't do. And also that company, and again, it's their economic prerogative to do this, is out there, not only they're competing against them while they're also ratcheting up this sort of pressure and financial cost on them. And so the tax to agents from Zillow is tremendous. And I think a lot of the
customer acquisition, cost decision for agents. You got to make your own decisions on CAC in all your business. Most agents just think, all business should come to them for free.
For sure, but do it in a world where you're competing 100% on the merits, not because you're forced into it. And if I were an agent, I think a lot of the outrage also comes from the fact that brokerages stood by for years while Zillow, NAR, and MLSs and organized real estate did this stuff, and nobody stood up. Nobody said, "Wait a sec, why are we allowing this? Why do we have a 3-way agreement? Why are we giving all the listings directly to Zillow? Why aren't agents getting, when MLSs sell all the data and make all this money, why aren't agents getting a piece of this?" No one has ever stood up and said that until we've seen it most recently, where, we've said it, Mauricio said it. Very few people are actually out there doing that. And I think that's another reason agents are starting to scratch their head and say, wait a sec, who's actually fighting for us? And I give Robert a lot of credit, because it takes a lot of courage to go out there and say, I'm fighting for agents. And people can say whatever they want. Oh, Compass is doing this for themselves, for shareholders. The beauty of Compass is that we only do well financially. Our shareholders are only happy if agents are doing well, because the way we make money is agents make money. And so we're going to always be on the front line of fighting for things that benefit agents. And it's sort of confusing as to why so many people in the industry have come out and said they're so against what we're doing. I've seen some brokerage leaders cheer Zillow on. If I were an agent at a company, I'd say, why are you cheering on the entity that is actually telling me as an agent, here are the rules I have to play by, that's trying to discount me, displace me, that took all my inventory and now is monetizing it, has made all this money. Like, it's very, very confusing. The last thing I would ever do on stage in front of a bunch of our agents is champion a company that was doing that. And then second, champion these, organizations that are continuing to perpetuate this. And that's where I think you're starting to see some of the outrage and the voices that are out there that are so aggressively supporting it. My question is why? What do you gain? What are your agents gaining from this?
I think this is one of the most ultra competitive businesses there is. And I do think there's a lot of options if people want to use them, but I don't think we can have our cake and eat it too. I want to end with back to Robert Reffkin. So kind of started with him a little bit. You work closely with him. He's obviously not doing this, very active on IG. So people might just see copy and be able to read copy. Give us like what's the thing that drives this guy? What's the one thing what's the one thing that you've taken away from him and made you a better leader in business? Like, what's that thing nobody knows about him?
He is more obsessed with helping agents be successful and fighting for agents than any person I've ever met combined. I'd even go as far to say, and this might sound, be hyperbole, I think he's more obsessed with, if agents are the customer of Compass, the client of Compass, I think he's more obsessed and cares about his client more than any CEO I've ever seen. A funny example, I was talking to someone about this the other day. So Robert's spring break with his family has become kind of a thing of legend at Compass. Now, most CEOs of big Fortune 500 companies, their spring break is probably going to, Cabo or Caribbean or something and, getting away with their kids. And Robert's spring break last 2 years last year was go to California. This year was go to Florida with his 3 kids and go to every Compass office and take his kids to every sales meeting, every open house, every event. And he puts on social media. And it's funny because you can see the first day they get there, his kids' faces are like kind of excited. And then by the 3rd or 5th day, they're like a little kind of tired. And by the 10th day, you can just tell they're like, Dad, get us out of here. Right. Yeah. And I joke around with him about it. And he's like, I don't know how many more years I could do this, but just think about that, right? Here's a guy who works 24/7, nonstop, who takes 2 weeks and takes his whole family and says, we're going to go to every Compass office and every sales meeting. Here's a guy who every Sunday, again, he could be doing anything Sunday. Most CEOs are probably doing a whole host of things. And he's going to an open house with his wife and kids. And by the way, in different markets, depending where he is, who's taking multiple red eyes every week to go to different offices and gives his cell phone number out to every single agent. He is more committed to fighting for agents than anyone I've ever seen. It's been the biggest takeaway I've had is when you think you love the customer you're working for, you don't love them as much as Robert does. And I would argue that what he's doing now is actually ratcheting up even more because he's taking his personal brand, his credibility, and he's putting it all on the line and he's fighting for agents. And the things he's fighting for, it's not a zero-sum game. It doesn't mean that Compass wins and other brokerages lose. If hypothetically Compass was victorious in this and the Zillow ban didn't go into effect and NAR and MLS has changed their structure and their rules, all agents would benefit from that. And that's a world that he wants to see. And then at that point, we can all compete, as you said, and I hope that we come out on top there. But he genuinely loves real estate agents and he wants to fight for them. And right now, he's the only person I'm seeing who's actually putting it all on the line to fight for them. And I think that's a beautiful thing to watch. It's pretty amazing to watch someone take their entire life and commit it all. And he doesn't have to do that. He's been really successful. He could do anything at this point. And he chooses every day to 24/7 go all in on this.
Some of those stories of his work ethic have been legendary. I can attest to it. Just hearing agents say, hey, I'm on the West Coast. Like it's 8 o'clock at night, and he's in London, and he's calling me, asking me about, and so the guy's a grinder.
He calls every new agent on their first day. Think about that.
Wow, 40,000 calls.
Yeah. And so what I've learned from that, and I try to share this with my team.
Is it AI Robert?
It's not AI Robert. He's very particular about that. It's not AI Robert. And I've said, and there have been moments where I've said, wait, maybe get a second phone, or you don't have to advertise your cell phone number as much. And he's always like, come on, stop. And he's right. There are little things I've learned more from him than anybody in my life. But I remember, so we do a retreat every year. We host a big event in a different city, and we invite agents to come. We get about 2,000 agents that come. And the last night of the retreat, we do a big closing party. And Robert and his wife, what they do, stand at the entrance of the party, and they shake every single person's hand who comes in. So he doesn't really get to enjoy the party that much. He spends most of the time doing that. And I remember, I was his chief of staff for a few years, and I remember asking him about that. And he was like, it's actually simple when you break it down, right? That's what people want from me. That's what they want me to do. Now, I might, as Robert, want to do something different, but this is what they want from me. And that little example is just such a good one, I think, to sort of hone in on. And so what I've learned from him is, if you don't love the client that you're working for, you're not going to be successful. And it's the same thing for agents, right? And you see this, the better the agent, the more they love their clients. And we both, I'm sure you have these stories. I've seen so many of these where agents do the craziest things for their clients and go so far out on a limb for them.
Absolutely.
And those tend to be the best agents. The agents who are kind of like, my clients, whatever,
Well, from afar, Robert Reffkin's a fascinating guy. I've heard stories that can validate what you just said. And I hope that he can find the time. I think the industry would love to hear more from him. I know I certainly would.
We'll figure something out.
Robert, if you do check this pod out.
He's going to check this out. We'll figure something out.
We'll get it together. Rory, thank you so much.
Thank you. This was awesome. I really appreciate it.
Stuck in there.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.